Beautiful entrepreneur, I have a blunt and potentially ouchy question to ask you. For all of the things that you do on social media, are you actually getting consistent hot leads from those actions? If the answer is no, or not as many hot leads as I'd like, then you are going to love this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast, because that is exactly what I am going to walk you through. How to get hot leads from what you do on social media. But it's going to be quite different in strategy compared to what you would probably assume it's going to be, and definitely compared to what you would see from some of the most prolific social media coaches and teachers out there. So this is episode number 415 of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. And for all the relevant links and show notes, you can go to tashcorbin.com/415. Today, we are going to get you hot leads consistently from social media. So let's dive on in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Now, when it comes to getting sales, making money from what it is that you do on social media, a lot of people make the assumption that if I reach more people with my content, I will make more sales. My job is to just get my offers, get my content in front of as many eyeballs as possible. And if I do that, I will make more sales. But reaching someone on social media and then immediately making a sale to them is the exception. It's not the rule. So most people design their social media marketing strategy on an exception, on a fluke, on a one-off, on that teeny tiny possible chance that someone is going to stumble across what it is that you do or some content that you've shared, and they're going to hungrily go and chase down how to pay you money. That is not how it mostly happens. 99% of sales that come from social media activities involve far more connection, far more relationship building, and far more long-term strategy. And yet, most social media marketers are teaching you how to reach more people on social media. Reach is a metric that we can easily build, we can easily grow, but reach does not have a direct correlation to sales. And so if you're still chasing strangers as your social media strategy and trying to get your work in front of more and more strangers, more and more cold eyeballs, and you do not have a strategic way to turn that reach into sales beyond just telling people what your offers are, then this podcast episode is going to be one that you want to take some notes on, and you're probably going to listen to it a few times. Now, I want to be the first to say, hand on heart, even myself, when I want to make more sales, when I want to grow my business, my brain defaults to, how can I reach more people? How can I grow my audience? We default to reach as our strategy for most business growth goals and most business growth problems. In most cases, when we have a big stretch income goal we want to achieve, we start thinking of ways how we can get in front of new audiences. When we have a cash flow crunch, we start thinking of what strangers can we reach on the internet that we can make sales to. But actually, for most online business owners, that is not the ideal strategy. It's not the most effective strategy. And it's certainly not for anyone the entire picture of how we actually make sales. In order to make sense of how we make sales in the rules, not in the exception, i.e. in the 99% of the time that we make sales from our social media strategies, we need to break it down into more steps. And that is where my client attraction process comes in handy. So the client attraction process is something that I've developed to explain the longer term strategy and where most of the sales come from in your business as a result of that longer term, i.e. the rule, not the exception. So 99% of your sales that come from your social media strategies will come because you've actually had a multi-step approach or a multi-step relationship building with that person even if you haven't done that consciously. Even if you haven't designed it this way, most of your sales will come from people who've been around for a while. Most of your sales will come from people who've been quietly watching you, or they've been on your mailing list, or they have engaged with you over an extended period of time, or they've come through referral or word of mouth. Most of your sales in your business, especially the ones on social media, do not come from a stranger just seeing something one day and then just buying from you that same day. There's a longer term process to it. So I've broken this down into your client attraction process, which is a 5-stage process. Stage 1 is reach, getting in front of people. Now, not all reach is created equal. We have reach to cold audiences, i.e. new strangers, and reach to warm audiences, i.e. people who already know you. But reach is the first stage. Stage 2 is nurture, and that is where you nurture and build a relationship with that person. They get to know you and you get to know them. Now, the you getting to know them is often overlooked by most marketing and social media strategy teachers, but you getting to know your audience members, either one-on-one or one-to-many or both, in an ideal situation, is actually the secret to getting more leads from social media. So I'll go into that in a little more depth in a moment, but I want to go through the full client attraction process first. Stage 3 of the client attraction process is invite. This is where you invite people to step closer to purchasing something. That is either you invite them to check out an offer that you have, you invite them to connect with you one-on-one to work out how you might be able to work together, you invite them to look at a sales page, you invite them to come to a lead magnet like a webinar or a challenge. There are one-to-one invitations and one-to-many invitations that we can use. So invite is stage 3. Convert is stage 4. So stage 4 is where those hot leads that you have invited to step closer to purchasing something from you actually then purchase something from you. So that conversion can happen one-on-one through things like sales conversations on a Zoom call or DM conversations or email conversations. That conversion can happen by people checking out on a sales page and purchasing there, buying something, requesting an invoice, requesting a quote for services. So that conversion can happen in a number of different ways, one-on-one or one-to-many. And then stage 5 of your client attraction process is deliver. Now, this is a critical part of your client attraction process because if you don't deliver for the people who have purchased from you, then you are often stifling the number one source of fresh, hot leads for new client bases. So for those of you who have great word of mouth referrals, you're nailing this stage. You deliver really beautifully. There are things we can do to proactively encourage clients, past clients, existing clients, past students to bring in new referrals and to bring in new leads for you. And also, when you deliver really well and you're achieving results with your clients, then through client success stories, client case studies, and testimonials done well, and I will link back to an old testimonials podcast episode because we're not claiming our clients' successes. We're not swooping in and saying we saved them or we are responsible for that success. They did it. But some really well-used client testimonials that are not claiming other people's successes and that are shared quite effectively and with consent, of course, can also help to increase lead generation in your business as well. So it's like this full, beautiful cycle of reach, nurture, invite, convert, and then deliver. Now, invite is where you get leads. So if you invite someone to take a step closer to buying something from you and they take that step, they are a hot lead. So the whole purpose of this podcast episode is for you to get hot leads from social media. So what we are looking for is how you ensure when you invite people to take a step closer to purchasing something from you, that people actually do it. And social media is one of the toughest places to get people to do that because we are missing the previous step in your client attraction process and we're not doing it well, which is your nurture. So for most people on social media and trying to grow an online business on using social media, the parts of their client attraction process that are the most neglected are nurture and invite. And in most cases, if they are doing nurture and invite, they're trying to do it in a one-to-many broadcast way, and it's very low conversion. So in most cases, when I work with new clients who are struggling to get leads on social media, the thing we focus on and fix first is their nurture and invite strategies on social media. And just by doing that, they increase the leads that they're getting. And then once they've got hot leads, they're very good at helping people to decide whether they are ready to invest or not. They're really good at jumping onto a sales conversation and, making that pitch to work together, doing that qualifying. Now, if that's something you struggle with as well, again, there's more content here on this podcast that will help you with that. But what I really want us to focus on here is getting those leads in the first place. And that gap is their one-to-one nurture and sometimes invite strategies as well. So if you want to get hot leads from social media, the first place that I would recommend you focus your energy and attention is doing more one-to-one nurture. And that one-to-one nurture is your audience getting to build a relationship with you one-to-one so that they can learn more and get to know more about you and you get to know them. That is often the biggest missing element. So, how do we do this one-to-one nurturing and get to know our audience members one-on-one more consistently? Well, even in asking the question, I'm sure you've got some ideas now. For so many people, we see social media as a broadcast part of our marketing and advertising strategy. It's just a broadcast channel. It's just where I go and post information and people listen to me. They learn from me. They hear from me. But when you think about social media as being a two-way channel, and stop using old school broadcast marketing strategies alone and actually embrace that opportunity of it being two-way and ask the question, how do I get to know more of my audience on a one-to-one basis and learn more about them on a one-to-one basis? You'll actually have some ideas, right? We know if we want to find out more about our favorite superstar pop singer or our favorite movie star or our favorite Formula One driver or our favorite celebrity or personality, we know how to go and get to know more about them. We know how to go and find out more about who they are and what they do. We don't necessarily do that in a one-to-one relationship. I'm certainly not DMing Taylor Swift hoping to find out more information about what's going on with the Reputation Taylor's Version album release. But we are able to go and find out more information about them online. Now, the beautiful thing with social media and the fact that this is your audience that you're getting to know. If Taylor Allison Swift sent me a DM and asked me some questions, I certainly would be answering, right? Now, I probably wouldn't believe it was her, to be honest with you. But imagine, that's one of the reasons why, speaking of Taylor Swift, she is so revered by her fans is because she actually follows a lot of her fans. She reads a lot of their posts. She engages with them. When she hears people sharing stories and what's going on for them, she'll often reach out and she selects a very minute, teeny tiny number of people in her audience, but she, reaches out and supports them and helps them and often quietly and privately gives them gifts or, does things for them that no one will ever hear about unless the fan then goes and shares that story. Now, that is the kind of approach that we want to be taking, but on a micro basis for you. Now, the number one thing I would say with all of this, though, is that it's very different for someone who knows that you're their biggest fan to reach out and say, hey, thanks so much for being a fan, blah, 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 and feeling really excited that they've reached out and they've connected with you versus knowing that someone follows you as a business owner and you just slide on into their DMs and say, hey, thanks so much for being a fan, right? Now, we want to ensure that our social media strategy is consent-based. So I'm not suggesting that you go and slide into the DMs of anyone who's ever engaged on any of your social media and ask them a bunch of questions that are really invasive and try and get to know them and pretend that you're really curious about who they are. But if we do this in an authentic and genuine way and through the lens of consent-based strategy, it is a really effective strategy, and it's one that your audience will absolutely love and adore. So what we're looking to do is strike up more one-on-one conversations with your audience. It's not by friend requesting them or cold DMing them. We're going to do it with consent. So in your posts on social media, how could you get to know more about your individual audience members genuinely and through the lens of getting to know what it is that they want, what they're struggling with, why they're following you, what they most want to learn from you? Well, we can just ask those questions. You're going to have to ask the questions over and over and over again. It's not a case of you just post a few questions to your socials and then you've got 400 hot leads. But the more that you do this consistently, the more that is what is going to happen for you. So ask lots of questions, but ask questions that are high quality questions that help your audience move forward, that help you get more insight into what they're looking for, that helps you get to know them more on a one-to-one basis, and be willing to put in some time and effort to actually get to know those individuals. So I will sometimes ask on my Facebook page, for example, who here has published a book? I'd love to know more about it. Share a link in the comments. Now, I don't just do that and then just leave all of those comments just floating around. I'm doing it because I actually want to get to know the individuals in my audience. And so I will go and click on the links to those different books and I'll see what the book is about and I'll see how many reviews they've got. Is it a bestseller? And I'll make a meaningful comment. I will reach out to that person back on the comments. I'll reply to where they've shared it and say, wow, that looks like such an amazing book. Or I just went and purchased it. A lot of the time, I actually go and purchase the book because it is something that I'm interested in or I am fascinated by the topic. I will also go and if I do purchase the book, I'll go and leave a review. And so this is where it's actually striking up genuine one-on-one connections with people. Now, I want to be 100% clear here. I'm not buying people's books and reviewing people's books so that I can sell to them. I genuinely want to get to know as many of the individuals in my audience as possible. This is just nurture. It is just building relationships. I am not inviting any of those people to take a step towards purchasing anything from me without first getting some kind of clue from them that that is something that they're interested in. But the first step to knowing whether they might be interested in it or not is to actually have a relationship with them. And so, a lot of people resist this nurturing a relationship, building connections, building one-on-one relationships with people online because they think it's a waste of time. And they think, oh, well, I'd be better off just broadcasting to 100 strangers on the internet. I'd be better off trying to get my post to reach 1,000 strangers on the internet. I can tell you hand on heart that spending time and energy on getting to know my audience and building relationships with people in my audience is far more profitable and has a far higher return on investment for my time than any of the broadcast marketing strategies I could possibly engage in still at this stage in my business. And so I don't see this as a waste of time. Now, first of all, I don't see this as a waste of time because I am fascinated by humans. I don't see this as a waste of time because I'm fascinated by business owners and entrepreneurs and what people get obsessed with and what people are struggling with and what people are looking for. I am genuinely invested in helping to support women and marginalized people to grow their businesses online, regardless of whether they buy from me or not. And so I am genuinely getting to know the members of my audience so I can support them and help them further. And for the ones who need extra mentorship and support, who want to work with me in a paid capacity, of course, if I get the hint of that, I will invite them to have a conversation about that. But simply asking great questions can be one of the most powerful ways to do that one-to-one nurture. But it's got to be asking questions for the nurture, not asking questions for the reach. And that's where most social media strategists and marketing trainers are misleading you. They're telling you to ask questions that get lots of replies because it grows your reach. But growing reach and not nurturing that relationship is wasting your time. You're getting all this reach, you're growing this potential relationship with hundreds of people online, but then you are letting that relationship die off and hoping to reinvigorate it with more broadcast content later. Instead, treasure every precious connection and relationship you can build in your business. Of course, I'm not saying be a one-on-one mentor for free to every single person in your audience, but at least take some time to genuinely get to know them. Other ways that you can do it with your posts on social media are replying to people's comments. Pretty straightforward, but like actually engage, not just for the reach. You know, so many people say, oh, I reply to every comment that people give me on social media because I know it's good for my reach. But that is so short-sighted. Replying to those comments is your opportunity to make that person feel seen, heard, understood, validated, supported, nurtured, connected, valued. And here you are using them for extra reach. You're using that person's comment and commenting it back on it for reach, for your own gain and benefit of reaching more strangers on the internet, when that person who commented is far more engaged, far more interested, and far more valuable to you as a business owner if you actually just took the time to get to know them as a human being, right? This is where I think a lot of those flash and crash social media specialists and marketers and, you know, the churn and burn kind of marketers really do us a disservice because they're losing sight of the entire bigger picture of why we're building a following on social media, why we're building an audience on social media. It's so that we can get to know them, so that we can build a relationship, so that we can sell our products and services to the people who want our products and services. You're not out here like peddling dodgy offers to people who don't want them. You're out here trying to grow your business and get clients because you genuinely want to help. You genuinely want to make a difference. And if that is the case, stop treating people like you don't. Stop treating people like you're only interested in the numbers and the ego-driven data. Instead, get people engaging with you and actually get to know them. If you measure your social media metrics by how many people you have got to know, not how many people have got to know you, you will actually be far more likely to be measuring a metric that has a direct correlation to sales. Now, another way you can do this is to tell people to DM you, tell people to direct message you, but give them a reason to do it. So sometimes I'll do posts on social media where I say, hey, I've got some time this afternoon. I want to review a bunch of people's Facebook pages. So DM me with a link to your Facebook page and what you're focused on selling at the moment. And I'll give you some advice on how you can improve that and what I think is missing from your messaging. And I'll genuinely just help people one-on-one. That is a really high connection way of building that one-to-one nurture. Now, in that process, if I notice that someone hasn't got their messaging foundations down, or there's something going on where their Facebook page just doesn't seem to be connecting with their audience, I might ask some questions to see, well, what are you doing to actually get connection with your audience? How are you growing your audience here on this channel? Because it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of engagement at the moment. And then they can tell me what it is that they're working on. So it becomes a one-to-one conversation. And through that process, if I can get a sign from someone, if I qualify through that conversation that someone might be interested in getting some help and investing in some help with this, or getting some help in this in a deeper way, maybe through one of my free resources, or maybe through, jumping in to talk about one of my packages or one of my products, then I will ask the question, well, that sounds like something I could help with. Are you interested in some free resources that might support you with this? Oh, yeah, I totally am, Tash. Well, here, make sure you go and grab this training that I've got. And then I give them the link. And so when people join my mailing list through a one-on-one conversation, they are far more likely to actually do the free thing that I've got them to sign up for. They are more likely to stay on my mailing list as an engaged member of that mailing list. And they're far more likely to buy something from me. Now, this isn't a short term, like I get them in the DMs, then I do this, and then I get them on my list, and then I go and pepper them with emails, and then they buy something 3 days later, because I'm not a churn and burn marketer. I'm a consent-based marketer. And so, looking at your social media strategy and particularly your nurture strategy as a longer term strategy is a really helpful way of ensuring that you're not like creating a lot of anxiety and putting a lot of pressure on every single conversation that you have, that you have to turn every single conversation into a paying client, because that just smacks of desperation and then you lose a lot of that authenticity. Be present with your audience, engage with your audience, because that's how you get to know them and that's how they get to know you as well. Reward your most engaged peeps on your social media by paying attention to who your most engaged peeps are. If they comment very consistently, you might comment back and say, hey, I've noticed that you comment on a lot of my stuff. I'm really grateful for all of your comments. I went and checked out your Facebook page. I see that you do XYZ. That looks really cool. If you ever have any questions for me, feel free to send me a DM. Because I want to reward that person. So I'm rewarding them with an invitation to DM me with a question, and I'm happy to help them out. And I do help people out on the DMs quite consistently. I help people on email quite consistently. I'm very good at having boundaries around that and not having that turn into a free one-to-one coaching relationship. But just because I have, a 15-second answer that could help someone to actually make more sales quickly doesn't mean that I have to withhold that until someone pays me. If I can help someone quickly and easily, I just do, because I know that that's far more valuable for them and for me long term. Get people on your mailing list one by one first. As I said, when I invite people onto my mailing list one at a time, it increases their conversion rate. It increases the chance that they actually turn into a hot lead. They'll often go and do the freebie and then they'll come back and DM me and say, hey, I just went and watched it. That was spectacular. I can see now I'm missing X, Y, and Z. And then I'll ask, well, is that something you would like to work with me on? Because I do have a program that helps with that. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, tell me about the program. And then they go and sign up to take off within a few days. But a lot of the time they will say, oh, yeah, I'm not quite in the market for it just yet. And I say, well, here's the link. Here's the takeoff program. Make sure you jump on the wait list if the doors aren't open right now. But it's just something to think about as you move forward. When you're ready, it's there. And so that is a no pressure way of me generating all of these hot leads in my business. Talk about your offers and products in a high connection way. Now, the other thing that I do often notice when I watch people on social media is either every single post has a call to action or nothing talks about how we can pay you money. It's usually one or the other extreme. And I think the sweet spot is right there in the middle. You want to consistently tell people how they can pay you money and what they can buy from you and what your products and services involve. But you also want to have plenty of content on social media that doesn't have a call to action, because the more calls to action you have on your content, the more they look like ads, the more it feels like I'm just being sold to or told what to do over and over and over again, the more that this just looks like an advertising platform, therefore the less likely I am to engage. So make sure that you are encouraging one-to-one connection and engagement. Stop rejecting one-to-one connection and engagement. There are a number of people whose pages I've sent a DM to, and then I instantly get a message back that says, I don't read messages here. And it's like, oh, okay, well, social media is social. And I was just following you on, so I just was reading a bunch of your posts and I was interested in finding out more about how I could buy something from you. So I thought, oh, I'll just send a quick message. There was a message button right there. I've followed the message button and I've hit a dead end. Now, often that dead end will involve an instruction on what else to do. So go and rewrite your question and go and ask me on email, because I don't read email messages here. But is that actually what you want to be doing to hot leads in your business? I can understand if you get 4,000 DMs every single week that you might want to have an autoresponder on your DMs. But is it worthwhile if hot leads are reaching out to you on DMs on social media? Would it not be worthwhile to actually check those DMs and respond to them? And even sometimes I get autoresponders from people, and it doesn't say I don't check emails, but it says like, wait, right? It's like, you'll have to wait. That's in essence what it's saying to me. It's saying, usually it's very lovely. It says, thank you so much for sending a message. I check messages sporadically. So as soon as I see it, I'll get back to you. But it basically is saying either I cannot be bothered to talk to you right now, so just wait. Or it's saying, you'll just have to wait. I'm sorry. I'm not here. Right. And you think like, I understand that like 10 years ago when we had like instant email response expectations and out of office or like, thanks so much for email, we'll get back to you in 24 hours, used to be a really good idea, right? But people don't expect an instant response straight away now. So you having an autoresponder that says, I can't be bothered to reply to you, like wait to reply to me. Like I don't get it, right? It just feels like it's putting a hand up to my face and saying, sorry, you'll either have to wait or you'll have to go and ask your question somewhere else. Now, if you are a small business and you don't have a lot of hot leads coming in from social media, I would suggest turning off every autoresponder and instead taking the time to engage with people one-on-one. People do not expect you to reply instantaneously to messages to your page. Don't worry about what Facebook says about like typically replies in a day or typically replies in an hour. You don't need that. All you need to do is just make it part of your normal routine that you are checking your messages on your Facebook page or on your Instagram on the days that you are working in your business. Even if it's just once a day, that's fine. You do not need an autoresponder to explain that you only look at it once a day. You do not need an autoresponder that keeps me at arm's length. Instead, just leave the autoresponder off and reply when you can. I've messaged a page. I was buying some candles and I DM'd a Facebook page. I didn't get an autoresponder. I got a reply from them 2 days later and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's taking me a couple of days to reply. We're really busy at the moment, but yes, we can fulfill your order and here's all the details. I bought them from them. Boom. They gave me what I needed. Yeah, it took 2 days for them to get back to me, but that's fine. I wasn't needing to buy candles that very instant. And they were very lovely and gave me all the information I needed in their reply. There was no autoresponder. I didn't go off and buy from someone else in the meantime. I just sent them a DM and asked a question. And, that is definitely a more consistent buyer behavior online these days anyway. I say turn off the autoresponders, but that might be a little contentious. All right. So my call to action for this podcast now that we're coming to the end, is that I actually have a little bingo game card that I've created on how to get hot leads from social media. So if you would like to get access to this little bingo game card, now it's normally only for people who do challenges with me. I make a new one every time I run the client attraction challenge. I make a new one every time I run a little mastermind. I make a new one when we do our Kickstart program because it is so fun and it just gets you taking these teeny tiny actions that make a huge difference to getting hot leads from socials. But if you DM me at my Facebook page or on my Instagram, and I'll put the link to both on my show notes. Make sure you're following me and then send me a DM and say you've been listening to episode 415 of the podcast and you'd like to play bingo. You'd like the bingo sheet to getting hot leads, hot lead bingo, it's called. Then just let me know you've been listening to episode 415 and you'd like to play hot lead bingo and I will send you the latest of the bingo cards. Now, the reason why I'm getting you to DM me is because I update it. And so I will just send you the one that I have at that point in time. And you can have a little game of hot lead bingo on social media and see just how some teeny tiny consistent actions can make a huge difference when you're focused on the nurture and invite parts of your client attraction process. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Make sure you go and grab the show notes at tashcorbin.com/415 and send me that cheeky DM if you want to play hot lead bingo. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.